Hey friends, this is Dr. Tartt. I want to talk to y'all a little bit about the Will Smith, Chris Rock incident, but new information. All right, so I'm coming to you as a psychologist. Before I came as a fan, watching things play out, and as a husband. But I just recently learned that Chris Rock has something called nonverbal learning disability, so NVLD. And basically, what that is, it's like a form of Asperger's. And for those of you not familiar with Asperger's, what it is like you don't really recognize social cues. All right. So by now, everyone has seen the slap heard around the world where Chris made an off-color joke about, excuse me, Jada's hair. GI Jane joke, which is a reference to her looking masculine and a reference to her losing her hair. It was, or at least it was perceived that way, right? So it was being tone deaf, right? And so when you look at like Jada, for those of you who haven't seen her, all right, she's had to shave her hair down bald because of hair loss to make it look even. It looks better this way, according to Jada, versus the patches if she was trying to wear her hair longer. So what's interesting is that I was telling my wife that what I was watching Chris Rock as he insulted Jada, which I didn't like, 'cause that was the second time that he did it. He insulted Jada, but as Will walked up to him, there was nothing that appeared to Chris Rock that he was about to get swung on, or he totally missed Will's aggressive tone. So you insult Will, he gets up. Chris Rock acknowledges him getting up, right? And then as he's walking to him, Chris Rock has his hands behind his back, and at no point does he like, hey, whoa, chill. Why are you walking up? To guard himself. And now it makes sense. So I want you to look at this interview that Chris Rock did talking about this form of Asperger's or something similar, nonverbal learning disability. All right, because it shed some light on some things, and for me, it helped add some perspective, and it changed my narrative, to be quite honest. Because before, I just thought that he was ruthless. Like, I'm gonna tell this joke anyway, even though you told me not to tell it, and I had said it before about Jada. I think what it shows is that Chris Rock just doesn't get certain things socially, and I think when you see this interview, you hear him explain it, and you'll notice a couple of things, and then we will break it down. Here is the
So you told
interview.
Hollywood Reporter that you were diagnosed with a condition called nonverbal learning disorder. Uh,
Yes.
when did you recognize this or know that you had this?
A friend of mine told me that I may have Asperger's. So I got it checked. And it turned out that I had something that was a lot like Asperger's. I kind of have a hard time with nonverbal cues with people. I've always have. I didn't know I did, but I'm great with words. I can
Mm.
hear and I can but most communication, they say 70% of all communication is nonverbal. So my relationships, even with my family or women I dated or whatever, it was always something a little off. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And being diagnosed with it has put me in a position where I have a specialist, I got doctors, I got, you know, certain medicines and stuff that help me deal with it. And honestly, with anything, once you're diagnosed, it opens it up to you. Everything's easier once you're diagnosed.
And this month is um, Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm kind of going off script, but I know that you talk openly about therapy. How important is it for people to realize like it's okay not to be okay, and that therapy is something we should all at least
Therapy is
think.
something we all need. It's definitely okay to not be okay. It's also just like we we live in this world where everybody wants to be so self-made, and I did this by myself. And what happens is we shut ourselves off from people and we don't ask for help for a lot of things we need help for.
So there it is. I mean, I don't know about you, but that definitely gave me more empathy for poor Chris, because I've seen this in clients. I've seen Asperger's. I've seen autism. I've seen nonverbal learning disability where you cannot read social cues, or like you took the basketball and you wonder why it was your basketball, you're playing basketball outside, but you took the basketball and you wonder why all the kids in the neighborhood are mad at you that you took the basketball, and they just focus on, but the basketball was mine, right? You missed the whole context of, hey, when y'all finish, bring basketball to my house, right? So with Chris Rock, the thing that made me sad is that we have two black men at the highest levels of their career dealing with mental illness, right? And the whole situation that played out in the Oscars. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely Team Will. If I could be part of the culture for a minute, I was definitely Team Will because I do stand on respecting women and respecting your wife, and another man can't crack mean jokes about your wife's medical condition, right? And if you do that, well, things happen. All right. I'm gonna be honest. All right. So I said that. But I did not know at the time that Chris struggled with a form of Asperger's, right? Or nonverbal learning disability, which makes sense. So if we put it together, he doesn't understand how the joke is not funny. And then when you look at the clip, he's like, what? It was just a G.I. Jane joke. What? Why are you getting mad? And then not interpreting Will's behavior as aggressive to defend himself, right? So we look at it. Moral of the story is black men are hurting, right? Men are hurting, and we have to be okay with therapy. Some of you are recognizing this and say, "Hey, you know what? I think my son or my husband or myself might be dealing. I didn't even know Asperger's was a thing. You probably definitely didn't know that nonverbal learning disability was a thing, but there's certain people who just emotionally don't get it, right? They get it academically, but emotionally they can't read the room. They walk into a room, they can't tell that y'all in the middle of a conversation and they intrude. Or they can't understand that they walked into some hostility. They can't walk into a conversation and realize they weren't invited into it, right? So, when you struggle reading people's body language, which is 70% of communication, then you're going to struggle in interpersonal relationships. So it was sad, but I want to take this time as a psychologist to highlight what was going on. I know you're saying, well, what about Will? Okay. All right. So, Will, if you read his book, Will, which is an epic read, he talked about developing two personas. All right. And personas are people we give ourselves. You know about Beyonce. So there's Beyonce and there's Sasha Fierce, right? He has Uncle Fluffy and the general. And Uncle Fluffy is the affable, laughable guy that Will Smith is. And then there's the general that protects his family, who's aggressive, right? And so with Will, if you read the book, he talked about watching his father, who he calls Daddy-O, beat his mom at a young age while he witnessed it and was pretty self deprecating to himself, calling his own self a coward for not being able to protect his mom from his dad. Now, in reality, no boy can stop his father from beating on his dad at 7 or 9 or 11, however old Will was in the book. But that trauma was cemented in his mind, and Will made a rule that he would never uh, be in the presence of someone where he felt like a coward, or he felt shamed, or he didn't take action when a member of his family needed his protection. So I think those things cascading. So you have trauma in addition to what's going on in his day-to-day life, we believe, apparently spiraling out with what's going on with the marriage and what's going on with his kids and the respect of the Smith name. All that cascaded at the same time, and a perceived slight by someone who had done it before, and maybe he perceived as a friend or a foe. All those things collided, and you saw two black men dealing with trauma, dealing with mental illness, colliding for the world to see. And that is why we as psychologists have to step forward and do more. And I pledge to do more. I pledge to increase my platform, via a podcast that is coming to talk all things mental health, not only for my brothers, but also for my sisters. And I'm gonna talk relationships, because we simply cannot afford to allow these things to happen and not address them proactively. So I love you. I hope that the video encouraged you, and just pray for my brothers and my sisters that we all be well. Take care and God bless.